Hi guys, it's April, and I have a book review for you. So I will do this book review the same way I do all of my other book reviews. I will have the non-spoilery section up front, followed by the spoiled-filled section afterwards. I will let you know when that transition happens, but I will also state that because this is a third book in a trilogy, there are going to be spoilers for the first two books in the series. Supernova by Marissa Meyer is book 3 in the Renegades trilogy. In this book, we get to see Nova as she finally comes to head with her decision to infiltrate the Renegades. There is a lot of internal issues as she starts to choose between her old family and what is slowly becoming her new family. She's starting to realize a few things that she hadn't quite considered before. I liked seeing all of that back and forth and that internal gut-wrenching decisions that slowly had to be made. There was a lot of character development that happened within this book. We got to see a lot more of Max. We got to see Adrian as he stepped up into his leader role. And of course, Nova as she slowly starts to think about all of her life decisions and everything that has led up to this point. I will say that the action sequences within this book feel very much comic book like. It's over exaggerated and you almost expect to see those visual cues when someone gets hit, but I think Marissa Meyer was going for that in this. It does happen really quickly. A lot of the action sequence, while I heard all of the crash bang booms in my head, sometimes I struggled to keep track of everything that was going on because lightning speed, things were happening. I couldn't put this book down. That is one thing I do have to say for this book. I binge read this final book because I needed to know so many things. You are left at the edge of your seat for most of this book because you don't know how things are gonna turn out. You're hoping that things are gonna go one direction. You're pretty sure they're gonna go another direction. And then of course there's all kinds of things that happen to various different characters. All I can say without giving too much away, there was some gut-wrenching scenes where you didn't want these kind of decisions to happen, that ultimately you couldn't live in between in the shades of gray, not when things exploded quite the way they did. Marissa Meyer did so great building up these characters and building up these worlds. I did have moments when I was comparing this series to the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson. It is also a superhero series that takes a different look to the superhero story arc. There was a lot of similarities to things that happened in that series and this series. I didn't want to make that comparison because ultimately, I did like the Reckoner series a little bit more than I did like the Renegade series. But the Renegade series is amazing in its own right. If you like superhero stories, if you like to have those gut-wrenching moments where you know these really tough decisions are gonna have to happen, if you like an anti-hero story, I highly recommend this whole series. If you're watching this review, you've probably started the series at some point, but you need to read this one because I need to talk to you about it, because this is the point in which I'm gonna start just dumping stuff because I have to get them out of my head into the universe and start a conversation with a lot of you guys. The first thing I want to mention is Ace and his sudden, very dark descent into madness after he gets his helmet back. It is something I did see happening, especially since he had been locked up, thinking about everything he could do if he ever got out. I knew it was going to be hard for Nova to see everything that was going to happen. She had blinders on. She didn't think it was going to get as bad as it was going to get because she had lived with this very sugar-coated version of who Ace was. And to see all of that come crumbling down was hard. A lot of things surrounding Nova and her story arc. So much anxiety. I keep on saying that because I was on my seat for most of her story, biting my nails, hoping things would work out, and ultimately everything did, maybe too well. There was a point at the end where Max is doing his thing and solving all of the world's problems, fixing everything, and then it just ended too sweetly when everyone got their powers back. There was a moment where I almost hoped that everything would just be wiped clean again and people were gonna have to figure out everything all over again, starting with a new slate, equal footing, that kind of thing. But it didn't. That is probably the biggest fault I find with this story. I didn't want to have too clean of an ending. I wanted some involved, especially since that has been the basic storyline from the very beginning to now, is dealing with a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to deal with. But then it was just this pretty little bow and it seemed too happy. But then the epilogue happened. If it hadn't been for the epilogue, I would have probably been more disappointed in this series than I was. There was a point when I did start to think that Magpie had more to do to the story than what she was getting. She seemed to have this draw to Nova's bracelet that I kept on pondering. Why would she want this so bad? Even at the very beginning, before it became the weapon that it later became, Magpie was drawn to this bracelet. And to find out at the end that Magpie and Nova are related, I had that I knew it moment, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I'm almost hoping at some point we get a little novella. I don't necessarily want a full-blown additional series out of it, but maybe some kind of short novella or something like that where we get a little bit more into Magpie and maybe Nova starting to figure things out. I don't know. It would be cute to see all of that, to find out that, you know, they both have family. Tell me down below if you would read a novella if there was one added to this series. I am going to do a reread of this because I think it's something that I read through so quickly. I need to go back and percolate on a lot of it because now that I know where everything's going, it'd be interesting to go back and see all the little hidden gems that are littered throughout the whole series. So I don't know. And of course, if you want to keep up to date on all of my reviews, subscribe down below, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.